Curvism instead, cubism. How curves reduce your stress, spark your creativity, and extend your life. Moving your mind from the in sapiens Homo cubicus to the veritas, Homo curvicus, in 30 days. Author's note. Dear listener, the supreme irony of this book is that you are receiving a manifesto against rectangles, inside a rectangular object. This is not a mistake, it is a symbol. Each moment you spend with these words, your brain is absorbing the same geometric poison I denounce here. And that is precisely why this book exists. To show you that your body, your mind, and your soul have been trapped for far too long inside a mold that was never natural. The rectangle is not neutral. Every corner steals a fragment of your calm. Every angle drips stress into your system. We've normalized it so deeply that we no longer notice until we get sick. What you're about to hear isn't decoration nor aesthetic theory. It was born as a survival mechanism. This is applied biology for everyday life. Science, history, and ancestral intuition converging into one verdict. The cube sickens. The curve heals. And here, I must thank my Silesian companion and master sculptor, Angel Vélez, who, after reading the first manuscript, immediately recalled the struggle of wrestling with a cubic block of marble. In order to liberate the organic form hidden within, he connected instantly with the essence of this challenge and pronounced the words that set the course. This is curvism, not cubism. His intuition was both chisel and echo. Since then, those words have resonated across every page of this manifesto. My invitation is simple, yet radical. Open this rectangular object with a rebellious spirit. Let each chapter strike like a hammer against your geometric prison, so that when you finish, your life begins to round itself anew. Welcome to Curvism instead, Cubism.
Preface. In 1758, we were baptized Homo sapiens, the wise man. But in Latin, sapere also means to taste. The first sapiens was not a thinker, but a taster, the one who risked his life testing food and safe places for the tribe. Long before we called ourselves wise, we already knew something essential. Life does not fit into a cube. For millions of years we lived in round dwellings, huts, kraals, yurts, igloos. Because the organic heals and the straight line harms, this book weaves science, history, and art to reveal what the ancients intuited. Each corner drains your calm. Each curve restores it. It is the manifesto of a new lineage for an old species, the Homo curvicus. Have you ever wondered why you still feel tired, anxious, or disconnected, even when everything is in order? The answer may be right in front of you, in the corners of your home, your office, your city. For centuries, 43 cultures warned, right angles weaken, curves protect. Today, neuroscience confirms it. Cubes trigger your amygdala, stress, hypervigilance, cortisol. Curves activate calm and creativity. Organic spaces reduce mental fatigue by up to 60%. This book is your escape map out of the cube. Inside, you will discover how rectangular architecture undermines your sleep, your health, and your relationships. You'll discover the biophilic secret of curves, a digital oracle that reveals how much your space intoxicates you, and how to make the evolutionary leap from Homo cubicus to Homo curvicus. Each curve is medicine. Each softened corner is freedom reclaimed. Curvism is not aesthetics. It is daily survival.
Chapter 1. The Invisible Tax. A rainy Tuesday in London. Rectangular room, rectangular table, flat mood. In less than an hour, cortisol rises, peripheral vision narrows, and attention drifts. No one feels the geometry, but geometry feels them. Rectangles are never neutral. Brain imaging studies are clear. Curved forms activate circuits of pleasure and calm. Angular forms trigger the amygdala, the brain's fear radar. That sustained microalarm is costly, very costly. The faceless predator. When we think about threats at work, we imagine toxic bosses, competition, or crises. But the most persistent predator has neither a face nor a name. It doesn't shout, it doesn't move. It simply sits there, silent, static, draining your energy every hour of the day. That predator is geometry itself, the invisible trap you live inside. We've normalized it so deeply, we no longer question it. The invisible tax of shape. Every right angle charges a hidden fee. Less creativity, more sick days, higher turnover, lower engagement. Even conservative estimates show millions lost each year, simply by working inside rectangular cages. Our brains evolved over 2.5 million years. Inside caves, circular huts, fractal landscapes. The cube is a late and toxic invention. What the elites already know. Meanwhile, those betting on human performance, from Silicon Valley to Nordic prisons, have already embraced the curve. Circular campuses, helical skyscrapers, organic prisons with dramatically lower violence. They choose curves not for style, but for survival. The echo of the ancients. The greatest building in the world remains the Pantheon, a perfect dome, 2,000 years standing, with no corners to trap tension. Ancient cultures understood intuitively. What neuroscience confirms today, form is medicine. Your invisible cage. Look at your workspace. Count the corners, count the curves. If corners dominate, you are already paying the geometric tax. But the antidote is simple. A plant, a round mirror, a circular table. The image that never fades. A child enters the Pantheon holding his mother's hand. He looks up. His body loosens. He smiles. That child is you. You have lived in rectangular prisons without knowing it. But when you step again into a truly curved space, your nervous system recognizes home.
Chapter 2. The Cube Prison. 996 millimeters of forgotten history with a 4 millimeter error. 1. The rule that changes everything. Imagine human history as a 1-meter ruler. From 0 to 996 millimeters, that is 99.6% of our time on Earth. We lived in organic geometries, caves, circular huts, domes, yurts. Only the last 4 millimeters brought the right angle metallurgy, straight walls, gridded cities. For almost all of our story, the world was round, irregular, flowing. Only at the very end did we lock ourselves into boxes. 2. The biological cost of the deception. A rectangular house looks neutral. 4 walls, flat ceiling, sharp corners. What could be wrong? Everything. Curves signal safety. They activate brain areas linked to pleasure and calm. Right angles signal potential threat. They trigger the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. In rectangular offices, productivity drops, stress rises, and nobody really suspects the geometry. Every angle is a micro-generator of cortisol. We don't notice it with the rational mind, but the nervous system pays the price hour after hour. What looks like just architecture is, in reality, an invisible biological tax. 3. The open archive of 43 cultures. Popular feng shui always intrigued me. From there came a simple, stubborn question. If the Chinese speak of sha qi, the destructive energy that accumulates in corners, could other cultures, without knowing each other, have reached similar conclusions? The research took me across Africa, Europe, Oceania, and the Americas. What looked like an isolated superstition turned out to be a pattern. 43 different cultures with no contact between them arrived at the same point. Angles sicken, curves protect. What began as an artistic intuition revealed itself as an anthropological and scientific truth. Curvism instead cubism is not an aesthetic whim for the rich, but a conscious evolution that connects my work with thousands of years of history. For true elites, the most valuable resource has never been money, but living knowledge. Without action, knowledge is just another dusty book on the shelf. You don't need vast fortunes to benefit from it. What you need is awareness and consistency. Those are the true markers of a pro-homo curvicus. Examples from this open archive: China, Shachi, killing energy trapped in corners. Navajo, Chindi, malevolent spirits caught in angles. Mapuche, Wekufe, destructive forces inhabiting corners. Islamic traditions, jinn in corners, beings dwelling in dark nooks. Coincidence? Impossible. It was empirical science, passed on without WhatsApp, without Google, without even knowing the others existed. 4. The invisible laboratory, your home. You don't need a brain scanner to test any of this. Your home is enough. Corner test. Stand near an inside corner and stay there for 5 minutes. Notice tension in your shoulders, shallow breathing, the urge to move away. It's no accident that wrongdoers were put in the corner for punishment. Curve test. Now stand facing an arch, a round table, or a circular lamp. Notice how your body breathes better. Tension releases. The mind feels more open. Pain in the body is not an enemy, it is a messenger. Your spaces do the same. They speak through discomfort until you learn to listen. 5. Ancestral wisdom. You don't need to live in a Chihuahua in Venezuela's Grand Sabana to understand this. Even in legend, Merlin knew that tension dissolved. Around the round table, there knights could speak without feeling dominated. There King Arthur, so the stories go, kept a steadier head than most of his royal peers. Every time someone wanted to control, they chose the rectangle. Every time someone wanted to heal, they preferred curves. And yet it would be unfair to pretend those who built grids fully understood the harm they were creating. The science that explains it is very, very recent. 6. The small, big amygdala. Deep in your temporal lobe lives a small almond-shaped cluster, the amygdala. For 2.5 million years, it has been your radar for threats. It responds in milliseconds to anything that looks like danger. A fang, a sharp edge, a sudden angle in your field of vision. Modern studies show that sharp angles, fangs, spikes, triangular forms activate the amygdala automatically. Just like the shapes of predators or weapons, when emperors boxed us into gridded cities, they had no idea about cortisol, chronic stress, or the amygdala. They simply wanted order and control. Centuries later, neuroscience quietly confirmed that those straight walls and urban grids were also laboratories of invisible stress. Neuroscience now validates what shamans and elders intuited. Every right angle triggers micro-alerts in your brain. Every curve is a micro-breath. 7. The rebels who resisted. As the world filled with boxes, some dared to say no. Antoni Gaudí, Sagrada Familia, Casa Batlló. Almost no straight lines. Frank Lloyd Wright, falling water, merging architecture with landscape. Friedensreich Hundertwasser. The straight line is godless. His curved buildings reduce residents' perceived stress dramatically. They weren't just eccentric artists. Seen from this lens, they were space shamans. 8. When geometry harms. Look at some of the places where suffering concentrates: rectangular hospitals with endless corridors, rectangular prisons, rectangular classrooms, rectangular office towers. Where architecture has been redesigned with curves, light, and nature, something remarkable happens. Mortality drops, violence decreases, bullying slows down, productivity rises, depression softens. Geometry in the spaces we inhabit is not decoration. It is literally either medicine or a brain-made poison. Life did not begin in a cube. For 2.5 million years, our ancestors lived and built in the round. Only in the last blink of history, the last 4 millimeters on our 1-meter timeline, did we lock ourselves into boxes? Long before anyone named us Homo sapiens, we already knew something essential. Life does not emerge from cubes, and no other living being would ever dream of building cubes to inhabit. 9. The final blow, the math of betrayal. If 99.6% of our history was curved, why do we accept living in the most toxic 0.4%? For millions of years, we were Homo biophilicus. In barely 10,000 years, we became Homo cubicus, the first species in history to build its own geometric prison. The amygdala responds in milliseconds to what looks like danger. A right angle can trigger the same alarm as a fang. Rather than blaming the past, this knowledge gives us a responsibility. Use what we now know to redesign our future. Curvis mini habit number 2. Choose a cube in your life. A box, a piece of furniture, a drawer. Soften it. Surround it with plants, or replace it with something curved. Make it symbolic. Every curve is an act of resistance against the invisible prison.
Chapter 3. Lost Biophilia, when the body remembers the organic. 1. The living laboratory. In southern Venezuela, 2 ways of living coexist: circular churruatas, conical roofs of palm, no corners where dust accumulates, no rigid shadows where the mind stagnates. Cubic cement houses, more modern, more rectilinear, hotter, less breathable, more suffocating. Many indigenous people who migrated from churruatas to cement houses summarize the difference in one simple phrase: it was easier to breathe there. Popular culture knows it by instinct. The organic refreshes, the cubic suffocates. 2. A spatial life/spatial illness in the 21st century. We are born in rectangular rooms, we grow up in square classrooms, we work in glass and concrete cubicles, we sleep in bedrooms with 4 inside corners. Every angle is a micro reminder that you are in hostile territory. The most common, yet misdiagnosed, symptoms: fatigue without clear cause, tension in shoulders and jaw, mild, constant anxiety, feeling permanently on guard, compulsive need to escape every weekend. It is not just depression, it is not just anxiety, it is toxic geometry. 3. The science behind intuition. What indigenous people describe as breathing better, laboratories measure in numbers. Curved shapes activate areas of the brain linked to pleasure and reward. Biomorphic patterns reduce cognitive fatigue by up to 60%. Patients who see trees from their window recover faster from surgery than those who stare at rectangular walls. Circles are unconsciously associated with self, identity, and safety. Angles with threat and sharpness. The body never lies. Every curve relaxes. Every angle alerts. 4. The cube as technology of domination. The right angle was not born for beauty, it was born for control. Mesopotamia, grid-patterned cities to monitor citizens and tributes. Rome, rectangular military camps for discipline, straight roads for fast armies and taxes, grid housing and agricultural land cut into geometric centuries. Like a vast fiscal chessboard. Industrial Revolution, cube factories to domesticate workers. 20th century cubicles and skyscrapers as the new temples of efficiency. With metal came weapons and empires. With them came the rectangle as a tool of domination. 5. Those who resisted. Some cultures never fully surrendered. Navajo hogans, octagonal, still standing after storms. Mongolian yurts, circular, resisting winds of 200 kilometers per hour. African rondavelles, where domestic violence is significantly lower than in neighbouring rectangular houses, Polynesian fail, oval, with greater community cohesion. This was not nostalgia. It was Mother Nature speaking through form. 6. Essay The Liberation Experiment. Try this for 1 week. Monday, place a round plant in a corner. Tuesday, eat at a round table or simulate it with plates arranged in a circle. Wednesday, walk 10 minutes in a spiral in a park. Thursday, paint or draw a curve on a wall. Friday, dine in a circle with family or friends. Saturday, visit a circular building. Sunday, draw circles while planning your week. Little by little, you will notice a curious phenomenon. Your attention starts to detect curves everywhere. This is your brain's reticular system at work, the inner filter that decides what enters your awareness. It works like when you're thinking of buying a red car, and suddenly you see red cars on every corner. Your body is simply remembering. What it had forgotten, the natural state was never the cube. 7. The neuroplasticity of form. Your brain physically changes based on the spaces it inhabits. 10,000 hours in rectangular cubicles reinforce rigid, linear thinking. 10,000 hours in curved spaces nurture flexible, creative thinking. This is not metaphor, it is measurable neuroplasticity. Mini curvist habit number 3. Break a straight line in your home with a curved gesture, a piece of furniture, a painting, a screen, a hanging plant. Do it, then observe. Your body will remember the forgotten language of the curve.
Chapter 4. The Silent Psychopath. Anatomy of Geometric Stress. 1. The enemy we never name. We talk about stress every day. Work, inflation, social media. But there is a more silent, more constant enemy. It doesn't appear on your bills. It doesn't show up in your calendar. And yet it corners you. Many times a day, cubic architecture. The rectangle behaves like a polite passive-aggressive. It doesn't shout. It doesn't bite. It barely moves. It simply exhausts you little by little until you call it normal life. 2. The brain's red button. Your amygdala is your primitive red button. It detects danger in microseconds. A fang, a dark moving shape, or a right angle. Yes, your brain can react to an angle as a potential threat. Curves activate pleasure and calm. Angles trigger vigilance and cortisol. It's not your square-headed boss. Who is stressing you out? It's the meeting room full of corners, amplifying every tension. And if you are the boss, this is your urgent invitation to review your rooms. 3. The invisible cages. Look at the spaces that generate the most discomfort on the planet of prisons, rectangular. Traditional school, rectangular. Old hospitals and rectangular. Cubicle offices are rectangular. The common pattern, right angles. Endless straight corridors. Flat artificial light. The result, chronic insomnia, increased violence, productivity, and free fall. It is not coincidence, it is geometry. 4. Anatomy of poisoning. What does the cube do to your body? Constant alert. Your amygdala interprets corners as potential threats. Hypervigilance. Your attention scatters, always scanning for danger. Chronic cortisol. Your blood pressure rises, your immune system weakens. Invisible fatigue, 2 to 3 hours less of truly useful energy each day. Anxiety without clear reason. You call it work stress, but beneath it, lives geometric stress. It is a slow toxin. It doesn't kill in one day, but it erodes you. Over decades, even the images we consume are not neutral. Every angle, every straight line on a screen impacts your body and your mind. 5. Spatial lab test. The cube makes you sick. Where curves in nature have been introduced, the numbers speak clearly. Curved hospital wings, Mortality and complications drop. Organic prisons, less violence, less recidivism. Circular classrooms, bullying falls, participation rises. Biophilic offices, productivity increases, sick leave falls. Form is medicine, or it is poison. 6. The economic cost of the passive-aggressive rectangle. Imagine a company with 500 employees. Each person loses just 2 hours of truly useful energy per day. Due to geometric stress, multiply that by the value of each hour, by the days of the year. The result is not in thousands, but in millions. Not because of mismanagement, not because of the crisis, because of rectangles. We all know someone who is passive-aggressive. Nobody admits to being one, but everyone feels where they are. Geometry works the same way. Rectangles are the silent, passive-aggressive presence in your life. Once you can name it, you can begin to disarm it. 7. The echo of curved spaces. Some spaces have silently survived. For thousands of years, the Pantheon in Rome, 2 millennia of perfect curves that calm bodies and distribute forces, the circular temples of Malta, around 6,000 years standing. Amazonian Shurawatas, cool, resistant, communal. The pattern is clear. When the goal was to care, humans built in curves. When the goal was to control, they imposed angles. 8. How the poison feels. Try this. Enter a circular space, a roundabout, a temple, a park with curved paths. Breathe deeply 3 times. Notice how your body expands. Then walk down a long, narrow rectangular corridor. Count 10 steps. Notice the tension in your neck, the impulse to get out quickly. That contrast is the silent background of your daily life. You simply hadn't noticed it. Mini curvist habit number 4. Today, when you enter a rectangular space, pause for 30 seconds. Breathe and ask yourself, what is my body telling me here? Your body never lies. The cube wears you down. The curve repairs you.
Chapter 5. The Emergency Protocol, Geometric Surgery for Your Life.
1. Spatial triage.
In the emergency ward, doctors don't start with theories. They stabilize you first. The same applies to your environment. Before changing your life, you need a diagnosis. How cube-sick are you? Answer this quick checklist. Does your bedroom have more than 8 visible corners? Is your desk completely rectangular? Does your living room have neither a plant nor a single rounded object? Do you spend more than 6 hours a day in cubicles or straight corridors? If you answered yes to 3 or more, you already have a name for it. Acute geometric stress. 2. Immediate interventions, curvist first aid. You don't have to demolish your house tomorrow. Small doses of curves are enough to begin. Place a plant with rounded leaves in the most visible corner. Replace a square lamp with a circular shade. Use round tablecloths or rugs to break straight axes. If your table is rectangular, create a circle with plates, glasses, or candles. Think of these curves as effervescent pills, geometric aspirins, small but powerful. 3. Tactical interventions, 21 days. Neuroplasticity loves repetition. 3 weeks is often enough. To begin rewiring, design a daily ritual of curves, draw circular shapes, mandalas, spirals, doodles, for 5 minutes each day. Rearrange furniture to reduce a tunnel effect. In a corridor, take a spiral walk in a park. Change your phone or computer wallpaper to organic patterns. Once a week, dine in a circle with friends or family. 21 days for your body to start forgetting the poison and remembering the medicine, less tension, more clarity, more creativity. 4. Strategic interventions, deep transformation. When you're ready for bigger changes, introduce vertical curvist artworks to heal inside corners and transform them into portals. Invest in round tables. They are associated with greater collaboration and trust. Add circular mirrors to expand space and redirect energy. Choose soft colors and curved textures on walls. If you remodel, think in arches, organic walls, sloped ceilings with curved bevels, where wall and ceiling meet. If you move house, consciously look for curves or circular patios. Every euro invested in curves is health insurance for your body, your relationships, and your work. 5. Real rescue cases. These are not theories. They are stories. An executive in Madrid replaced a rectangular desk with an oval one. Within 6 weeks, her migraines dropped by around 70%. A startup in Berlin redesigned its brainstorming room into a circle. In 3 months, applicable ideas rose by more than a third. A family in Mexico City swapped their square dining table for a round one. Result: longer dinners, deeper conversations. The return on investment is tangible. The body celebrates curves in silence, but with enthusiasm. 6. The circle as symbol.
Campfires,
Stonehenge, teepees. Amazonian shabonos. From tribal nights to corporate boardrooms, the circle has always been a space of trust. No one is stuck in a corner. Everyone is visible. Energy flows. The circle is not a trend. It is evolutionary memory. 7. Your first curvist victory. Today, you can start with something as simple as drawing a circle on your office wall. It doesn't matter if it's chalk, marker, tape, or projection. Every time you see that circle, your body will remember, here, I am not completely trapped in the cube. Here, there is a breach in the prison wall. Mini curvist habit number 5. Tonight, move your rectangular bedside table. Replace it with a round object, a stool, a circular box, a basket. Sleep. In the morning, ask your body how it feels.
You've reached the end of part 1 of Curvism instead cubism. Part 2 follows.